Flosstube. It's Arlene here. It is Wednesday, November 15th, 2023, and it's wonderful to be back here with all of you. If you're a returning person, thank you so much. I know that there are plenty of floss tubes for you to watch, and I appreciate you swinging by here and having a visit. If you are new here, welcome. I don't know how you found me. Sometimes it's YouTube's algorithm, sometimes it's another floss tuber mentioning somebody else, but I'm glad you're here. Hope you stick around and enjoy what I have to share. So, I think it's been a few weeks since my last video. And there were a couple things on there that I meant to write down to follow up on, but that's okay. We're just going to jump into some other stuff, okay? If you are not familiar with me, I am also a cross-stitch designer. I design under the name WorksByABC. My initials are ABC, that's where the name came from. And a lot of times when I'm doing floss tube videos in the last few years, I don't have stitching to share because I'm busy stitching my own models, and I usually don't want to share until they're done and ready to be released, because sometimes you show something and people are all excited, where can I get it, where can I get it, and if it's only halfway done and they can't get it anywhere. I do post some sneak peeks at various times on Instagram, and please go over and follow me there if you are on Instagram. So here we are, mid-November. Halloween is past. Fall is, or the fall cross-stitching season, shall we say, is on the downside, and on the upside comes winter. And so I am excited to share with you a couple of winter smalls that I am releasing right now at this time. You are seeing them here. So the first one I am calling, hold on, get it all prepped here, a holiday sampler ornament. So you can see my hand. It's ornament sized. Here we go. I grew up Jewish. I have that background of looking at all the Christmas things that are out there and just know that that's not where I set what I decorate for. I'm also very aware there's lots of families that decorate for both holidays. My sister, her tree, coming from her husband's family tradition of a tree, there are plenty of ornaments on there that bring in the Hanukkah, the Jewish connection to the Christmas tree. So in a spirit like that, thinking of my sister, but plenty of other families, I wanted to have an ornament that shows both sides of the holiday season. So you can see Santa hats, dreidels, Christmas trees, menorahs, and gifts. And I'm calling it Holiday Sampler Ornament because to me it was like a little sampler of the holidays. I stitched this on perforated paper. This is on 18 count perforated paper. I just wanted to go a little smaller than 14 count, which is the count that I might say is a little bit more readily available, but not impossible to get 18 count. You could do whatever you want size-wise. And there's no reason why it has to be stitched on perforated paper. You can stitch it on anything. I finish it just kind of flat. I made cording, and it's ready to be hung somewhere. I don't know if you'll be able to see. I stitched it all with etoile threads, which maybe you're getting a little bit of sparkle there. And I meant to have something out, and I don't. If you are unfamiliar with etoile threads, and I thought look at this. Hold, please. So this is a big, not tangled mess. So etoile thread has a sparkle to it. It is a DMC thread. So for me, that means it is often more readily available it's more readily available than in the big box stores that, you can't get a Gentle Arts or a Weeks or something like that. And I'm aware that a lot of stitchers don't have access to some of those other stores. So, or some of the LNSs, although there are plenty of online options. I'm getting off track here. Anyway, when DMC came out with this a few years ago, I was intrigued, and I've enjoyed stitching with it ever since. It is not a full sparkle. Where am I? It is not like a petite treasure braid, which is a sparkle thread. It's a cotton that's got some sparkle in it. I am able to get this at my local Michael's. So I'm not going to claim every Michael's has it. I don't know. I can't speak for other big box stores, but I am able to get it if I'm not near a needlework store. So particularly this time of year, I love the extra little sparkle it brings to stitching. Brain work. So if you like this idea, but you either don't have or not interested in working with étoile, conveniently, now I'm dropping things all over the place. It's going to pull out one of these things from DMC, but this is not the best one to pull because this is, the color numbers are the same. So if you were looking at, for example, the red I used for the Santa hat, it is, on a official code C816, but the DMC red color it is 816. So all DMC did when it comes to numbering étoile threads is they put the letter C in front of it. Why didn't they use the letter E? There's a reason for it. They'd already used the letter E for, I think it's their metallic threads. Anyway, something they had come out with before the étoile from a couple years ago, so they stuck on C. Maybe somebody knows something related to French or something that explains why it's C. So you can certainly do this exact thing, or exact color scheme without having the étoile threads, because all the numbers that I've listed here are going to have the same numbers as the regular DMC. So there you go. That's the first one I have available. And then my second new one, and I promise you, I was like halfway through the stitching of this before I realized, oh, wait a second. I'm coming out with 2 new designs, and I'm using étoile for both of them. Like I hadn't completely processed that I had done that, but that's okay. So again, because Christmas is not my thing, any holiday designs or any designs this time of year from me, well, let me put it this way. I do a lot of winter stuff. So this I'm calling Winter Snowflake. And if you look maybe from a distance, you're seeing, so it's white étoile, and I don't know what you think you're seeing from a distance, but as I get closer, do you see the word snow written all? Oh, now it's not coming across very well. Well, hopefully you can see the word snow. It's in a dark gray. So I just loved the idea, or the idea of winter, that is where some people's decorating goes. I finished this. This is just a little stand that I got at the dollar store, and it's got a metal thing to it. Here's another one that stick on some magnets on the back of a design, and you got to stand up without having to make a stand up. So that's where this comes from. I found also at the dollar store this silvery bead thing, and use that with some chenille to finish it off. So this one, did I just drop it? I did. Is Winter Snowflake. So both of these designs are in my Etsy store as we speak. There are links below. I sell all of my designs as 2 options. A paper copy that I'll mail to you, or a PDF version that you can download immediately from Etsy. Oops. Let's see. Keep in mind, if you go to my Etsy store, because I sell everything in 2 ways, and Etsy doesn't allow you to do 2 ways in one listing. For example, if you were buying something on Etsy and it comes in 3 different colors, you can have a listing where people can choose which color. But because one of the listings is a physical object item and the other is a PDF, you can't combine them on Etsy. So if you go on my store and you want a PDF, you can just search all the PDFs. Or if you want a paper copy, you can just search that way. Because every design has 2 listings. So I hope you will swing by and take a look at these, and to encourage you to swing by to take a look at those and others. It's time of year to have a sale. November is my birthday month. It's actually the first half of the month, so it's already passed. But it has become like a tradition for me to do a Works by ABC sale during this month. So now through December 30th, so the second half of the month instead of the first half, 20% off everything. Both PDF, both paper copy. You do not need any code. It will be automatically 20% off. I hope you'll go and do a little shopping. I hope you'll support me, as I know many of you support lots and lots of designers out there. And it's not just for these two new designs, it's everything in my store. But because I was sharing with you all some winter holiday designs, I pulled out some others, just if you were interested, things to look for. So this is a design I came out with a couple years ago, don't remember which year. And this is called Snowflake, which is why I couldn't call that one just Snowflake, because I already used that name. So that one's called Winter Snowflake. I stitched this on that like luminescent, is that the word? That sparkly fabric. These are DMC colors, and I just like the softness of this color palette. A friend of mine, Tonya, had stitched this using some different colors, and it is beautiful, and it looks way better than my model of it. So this is a snowflake, a wintry design, if you are so inclined. Size-wise, I am pretty sure this is either a 10 by 10 or 12 by 12 inch frame, just to give you a sense of the size, and I'm pretty sure this is on 32 count. But most of the other things I'm about to show you are significantly smaller than those. So most of these are Hanukkah designs. And the first ones, I'm not going to be able to do this in order because I don't remember. That's okay. So here is a Hanukkah design that's Festival of Lights, Happy Hanukkah. And here are, if you are familiar with holiday songs, there are two Hanukkah songs. Hanukkah, oh Hanukkah, come light the menorah. I have a little dreidel. I made it out of clay. So these two designs are sold together in one pattern. I have two Jewish star designs. I think this was one of my first ones. And in the pattern, I also have some alternate centers so that you could stitch a Jewish star without it saying Happy Hanukkah. There's a few suggestions of ideas what to use there. And I also have this star design. And I'm pretty sure one of them is called Jewish Star and one of them is called Hanukkah Star, I think. But they should both be searchable under Jewish or Hanukkah on my website. Few different menorahs over the years. So I think these cube ones, the ones I finished as cubes, these were the first ones I did. So a little menorah design. And what I did in there was a little sampler of different types of stitches. So the candles obviously could just be stitched with cross stitches, no problem. But if you're ever interested in, I want to play around with some different stitches, I don't want to go all crazy with it, that gives you a little opportunity to do so, plus beads for the lights. And then there's this menorah design that, again, you get both patterns, and one of them is all cross stitch and one of them is black work. So if you ever wanted an opportunity to just try out a little black work, that might be a way to do it too. So those are my Hanukkah designs over the last few years. A little bit of more background behind this guy. I had actually submitted this to the Just Cross Stitch Ornaments issue, and they didn't want it. I've been in the ornaments issue before. And so when they said, thanks, but no thanks, I thought, well, I thought it was a cute little thing. I'm going to go ahead and release it on my own. I think it's important to recognize there's lots of people in the world that do celebrate both holidays and want to decorate in that manner. So I just pulled out to share with you the two ornaments that are in the Just Cross Stitch magazine from the last couple of years. So this one was in last year, 2022, if you have that issue, and it's called Symbols of the Seasons. And at first it's like, oh, snowflakey kind of things, but there's Christmas trees and stars, Hanukkah dreidels. Yeah, you got some snowflakes in there. This is a very, very kind of simplistic way of putting a candle in. And yeah, I used a toile for this as well. So if you have, I laid these all out, but now, yeah, this one is from the 2022 issue. You will see it in here. Yeah, there it is right there. Oops. And then the year before, which would be 2021, yep, was the first year I was kind of like thinking about this double holiday celebration. So I created this. Each side has a tree and a menorah, with the tree standing out more on this side and the menorah standing out more on that side, really showing the dual holidays that are out there. And what is this called? I'm looking at, there's a tag still left behind on here, but here, it'll tell me what I called it. What did I call it? Holiday lights. So this is from the 2021. So if you're interested in that idea of an ornament that's specifically designed for both holidays, the last 2 years of just Cross Stitch magazine have my two of that realm, plus the new one that is just coming out. So there you go. Let me clear off some stuff here. That's the sharing for the first thing on my list. Well, technically more than the first thing. So again, sale, new releases, other Hanukkah winter designs. We are moving forward here, people. So I don't want to run over anything on the floor here with my chair here, to share with you. As I started out by saying, I often don't have like current stitching that I want to share, can share, however you want to put it, because I am currently working madly at stitching models for my Nashville releases. Actually, last night, 2 nights ago, I had a major finish of a very large design for Nashville, and I can't wait to share that with all of you, but hold on, it'll be coming. But I am working on a small little thing. I'm like, I could share this. So at Nashville, there is a cookbook that is put together, and they reach out to both designers, like exhibitors, as well as store owners, I believe, to submit recipes. And as a part of that, a lot of designers, not everyone, will include like a freebie project. And some people get the cookbook not for the recipes, but for the little freebie projects, which I think is a lot of fun. It's an item that can only be purchased at Nashville. So a store needs to be at Nashville to purchase it. Many stores attend, many do not. They either can't, like financially it's a big burden or whatever. And so a store that isn't able to attend would never be able to carry the cookbook. But all the stores that do attend can have the opportunity to purchase it. So that's just the heads up if you are interested in that idea. So I'm working on a little freebie design that I'm going to submit along with a recipe for this year's cookbook. And I wanted to share with you. It's not done. This is as far as I've gotten. There's going to be a little bit of a border, and then it'll be finished. And one of the reasons, and I don't have a name for it yet, and I'm not even sure if I'll have to look, does the cookbook freebies even have names on them? Well, I wanted to share with you for a couple of reasons. One is about the thread that I used. So, another DMC thread that I like because I can get it at a Michael's. Plenty of LNSs, needlework stores, are going to sell Etoile and what I'm about to share with you. But again, I try to think about the range of stitchers that are out there and what is accessible to different people. So I have this kind of halfway holding outward because I wanted to show you. So DMC does these threads called variations. Now, they also have threads that are called colorist. It's color IS, and I'm not sure if you're supposed to pronounce it in a different way. And the colorist threads, to me, have quite a more dramatic and even abrupt color change. The variations have a little bit less, or at least more of them. So it's kind of DMC's way of going into the overdye thread world, although nowhere near the care and attention that our smaller companies like a Weeks or a Gentle Arts, as opposed to DMC, would create. So, but there's a number of the variations that I've always loved and wanted to stitch with and find quite the right project. And I thought, well, this would be one that I would love to try it out with. So I pulled this, which is 4210, and it's got like reds and purples in it. At least that's what it looks like from here. And when I went to go stitch this, I purposely decided to do a lot of jumping around. I didn't want to get any stripy effect. Sometimes that's exactly what you want from an overdye thread. I really wanted to muddy the waters a little bit because it was kind of like an experiment for me. If I didn't like it, the way the little model turned out, that's okay. It's just a freebie design I'm giving away. But I really like, and I'm not sure how well you can really see. It's like this subtle variation. There's an area here that you could say, I'm distinctly seeing a bit more of the purplish than the reddish, but I really like the way this came out. And so it's, again, I was like I was taking the two strands and flipping them so that they weren't lined up. Do you understand what I mean by that? So that also helped, I don't want to say muddy the waters, but that's what I was trying to do, to just give this overall look. And it worked to me, partially because these colors are so close together. I don't know how well this idea would work when you have, again, some of the variations, there's much more dramatic differences between the colors. I have a paper that I'm pretty sure I pulled from the DMC website, so I think it is, quote, official, of what colors is this variation made of. So I was able to look it up, and it's made up of these 4 colors. And you could see as I'm holding them here, they are very close in color to the extent that the light is coming okay. So 814, 915, 498, and 777 is, according to this list from the DMC website, are the colors that were mixed to create this 4210. So for this last little kind of ring around, which will be a border, I was debating using one or more of the solids just to kind of like pull it all together, or I might end up using the variation. So I haven't quite decided that. I was working on this weekend, didn't come back to it, but I will keep you posted on how it turned out. And again, it's a small thing, and it's fun for me to be able to experiment with an idea that I had, that I would never want to jump into some large project and then regret the time I was spending for something that I didn't really like. And that's just overall a good piece of advice for stitchers. If you have an unusual thread or an unusual fabric or whatever, and you're just not sure, am I going to like the one? Okay, do something small. And that reminded me, my deepest apologies, I forgot to talk about the fabric for this. I stitched this on Grace Notes fabric. I met Corinne and John at Nashville last year. Wonderful, sweet couple, and the Grace Notes fabric line has been bursting, like going out crazy the last couple of years. They do beautiful fabric. I'll link her website below. This is a brand new color that I also went to the Grace Notes Stitchers retreat in August, and there I was talking to Corinne about colors, and it evolved that she was going to take one thing she'd already done, a blue, and adjust it a little bit. And this is called blueberry pie. Give me a moment. Blueberry pie. So I love it's subtle. I personally don't like splotchy when it comes to hand-dyed fabrics, and I just love the way this looks. So take a look at Corinne's website. What I love, well, there's a lot that I love, but if you go on her website, you'll see she has pictures of any particular color with a piece of fabric that is Aida, a piece of fabric that is an even weave, and a piece of fabric that is linen, because the dye really does take differently to different fabrics. And when I've seen her stuff in person at Nashville and at the retreat, there was something, let's just say, oh my gosh, I love that on the Aida fabric. And I'm not much of an Aida stitcher, and I go and I find that same color on a linen fabric, and it just doesn't hit me in the same way, and vice versa. So to the extent that pictures on a website can accurately or not accurately show what a fabric actually looks like, I just love that she shows all 3 of those. So my apologies that I didn't mention that earlier. Grace Notes Fabric, go take a look at her stuff. She does beautiful work. Fabric. Now I'm back to my little freebie cookbook thing. I started stitching this, again, I want to test this out, but I don't want to do it in a big project, with some fabric I got from Witchell. Now, I am not a huge lover, any kind of lover, of their linen fabric. Some people love it, everyone to each your own. As a designer, I've gotten, and I'm very appreciative of materials that they will send to me. Like I got some perforated paper from them, and they will share some fabric. I am just starting a new design on Jobelin that I was able to get from them. So appreciative. And at one point, when I was looking through the list of designer samples, or the list of things that are available to designers, I saw under like 32 count linen. And then there was this extra little area that said 32 count linen country French. And there was 4 colors listed. And I was like, I don't think I've ever heard of that. And so when I was emailing my contact, I think I was getting beads or something, I said, in effect, what's up with that other thing? And I'm kind of curious. Again, I've gotten a couple pieces of their regular linen, and it's just not something that works for me. But she sent these. Actually, she sent multiple colors. And I was quite surprised with how soft it is. For me, my experience, the Witchell linens are quite stiff, even when I've tried to kind of like wash it out a bit. This is a softer fabric, and it stitches up in me this little piece, very similar to a linen from Zweigart. And so I was so like, to discover things like this. So again, they call it country French linen. It only comes in 32 count, I'm pretty sure. And I meant to look up, this was some time ago, I meant to look up her email because she did have a brief description of the difference. And it was about, percentage of linen versus whatever else goes into whatever these fabrics are made of. And it just seemed like such a small difference with the numbers she was sharing, but it makes a huge difference to me in the fabric. So I'd been wanting to try it out like as an actual stitching project. And just like the idea with the DMC Variations threads, this was perfect. So I really like it. And I am glad I have this as a possible, along with a couple other colors, as a possible fabric for future needs. It's just fun. Now, I don't know what stores carry this. I mean, I have to believe any place that orders directly from Witchell could get it directly for you. But is there any place that currently keeps it in stock? I don't know. If you have an LNS that carries country French linen and you're like, oh yeah, I've heard of that for years, Arlene, share it in the comments so that others can know this. This color is latte. It's like a very, very, very light tan. It's coming up even a little too dark on the screen. Speaking of fabric, another company that I met at Nashville was Fabric Flare, and a couple of the designs I stitched in designs that were released in August at the Needlework Marketplace. I used the Fabric Flare fabric, and again, it's another company that, well, at least I was vaguely familiar with it, but I didn't realize until I had the conversation in Nashville that they do sell directly from their website. So while there might be stores that also carry Fabric Flare fabric, many of their designs or their fabrics you can buy from their website. I think there's some special things that they've done, individual, this fabric is only for this store that wanted it or this designer for this thing. But in general, they have a lot of fabrics on their website and you can order directly. Now, the deal with them is that they are printed fabric. Think about, many people are familiar with a vintage country mocha. It has the look of a hand-dyed fabric, but if you have a piece, and I wish I had some, and I didn't, I just thought of something else. That's all right. It's only one side that looks like that. The other side is a solid. And so Fabric Fair has a lot of designs. I'd asked for some samples of some of theirs. What do they call this? Is it written on here? Dyed effect, which is to say, kind of like that over-dyed or hand-dyed fabric effect. Subtle. Again, I don't like splotchy, but it's printed. Oops. Can you see how the back is white? And you could get, if you like this sage green color, what they call dyed effect, you can go on their website and order it in whatever you want. 14 count Aida, you want 40 count linen, you want 28 count Jobelin or whatever. You can order it in any kind that you want. And I enjoyed stitching on it when I did those two designs. And so I wanted to get some more to play around with upcoming designs. And let me be clear, all these fabric that I'm just mentioning, yes, designers can sometimes get samples to use. They are not paying me to like do any promotions for them or anything. I'm just sharing things that I've discovered that I didn't necessarily realize was out there. Certainly, a lot of companies that mostly small, building up the hand-dyed companies, some that are more well-known, like a Picture This Plus, but also plenty of smaller ones that are sort of the up-and-coming, like Grace Notes. And then you take a company like Witchell, very established, but I discovered a new little thing that I hadn't known before, and a company like Fabric Flare that, like I said, is trying to kind of get into the market a little bit more. So this was a sage green, and what do they call this one? I love it that it's Waxing Moon. I mean, I guess it's pretty light, but there's definitely like tan pieces to it. Nowhere near as dark as like a vintage country mocha. So I have some thoughts with each of these, and mostly it's about, is the green going to work? And if the green doesn't work, then I will most likely use this other one. So I just encourage you to check out anything that is new to you out there, because you just never know what you're going to find. And that's why I'm glad I am playing around with some new fabrics and even some new threads. Cool. Next thing on my list. If I don't write a list, I'm going to be all over the place. I always feel like I am all over the place, but at least I have a direction to turn back to when I need to. And so I need to pick up this. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen a few weeks ago that I went on a little day trip and got to see an amazing exhibit at a museum. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, a few weeks ago, I went on a little day trip and got to see an amazing exhibit at a museum. And I just wanted to share with all of you here. As much as some people come to Flosstube just for the stitching, what are you stitching on, who's the designer, and so on, I get the sense lots of people like to hear about other things as well. Usually in the, people will share like their quilting or their knitting and so on, but also in this creative realm that, if you're here, you have a creative bone in your body. I mean, well, I'll make the argument everyone has a creative bone in their body. It's how it comes out to play. And so if you're watching me as a stitcher, we know each other in that sense. And as a part of that, I love to go to museums. I don't have that much opportunity. I live not too far from New York City, but it is a whole big deal to go into the city. But when there's something amazing, I will do it. I basically live halfway between New York City and Philadelphia. And same thing, there's some wonderful museums there that I've been to. I heard about an exhibit that was going on at the Baltimore Museum of Art. And it really seemed very interesting. I thought, I would love to do this. I'd like to go see this. The drive, most likely turning it into an overnight, like those pieces did not appeal to me. And then like in this flash of brilliance to me, I thought, well, I could take a train to New York City. Let me look into taking a train down to Baltimore. I've certainly taken train like up to Boston. Like if I'm visiting a friend up there, get on a train, take a nap, fall asleep. A few hours later, wake up, you're in Boston. No traffic, okay? And that's part of what appealed to me about, gosh, if I can get on a train and it's less than 2 hours and end up at a train station in Baltimore that is literally 1.5 miles away from the museum, like this was meant to be. And so a few weeks ago, I did it. Now, what was the exhibit? Making Her Mark, a history of women artists in Europe, 1400 to 1800. I had first heard about this exhibit through my lace world. I do bobbin lace. I have a whole nother side of outside my stitching world is bobbin lace. It hasn't been huge in my world in the last few years as my designing has picked up with the cross stitch world, but it's always there. So I heard about this exhibit that was happening that was going to have a number of pieces of lace on display. And I knew that the Baltimore Museum of Art had some lace had some very nice lace in their collection, and like so many other museums, just doesn't have it out on display. So I'd first heard about this through some postings, Facebook group, whatever, about the lace world, but then read a little bit more about the description, and that this was not some small little exhibit of 2 rooms with a few different things in it. It was a very large exhibit, in the works probably a couple years, and I got more and more interested in it. So I spent over 2.5 hours in this exhibit, which may be a record for me in a museum, not in a museum at whole, but in one exhibit. There was so much. And just to kind of share with you, and this catalog, this book is more than a catalog. That's another reason I wanted to get it. I mean, look, this is, yes, of course, there was needlework there, okay? And there's on the end paper. But there's also printing. This is not here just because it's a picture of 2 women doing typical, let's say, women's work, but what you might think of for centuries ago. It's here because this was a lithograph, an image, I don't know, that was created by a woman. And the effort that needed to go into finding the range of items, I mean, that's what blew me away. The range of items that, a history of women artists. I figured there were going to be some painters. I knew there was going to be a lace connection, and of course it wasn't going to surprise me to have needlework there. But this is from the table of content. There's some wonderful essays, amazing, so informative. Haven't read a tenth of it yet. The works exhibit fall under the categories of ceramics, book arts and publishing, drawings, pastels, and watercolors, furniture, manuscript, illumination, various kinds of painting, printing, scientific and natural illustration, sculpture, silver and enamel, tapestry, woven and practice, embroidery and lace, and so on. So this is how it hit me right away. So, if you go to like a museum, like a special exhibit at a museum, like not one of their regular, I suppose they have this in some regular areas, you get something usually right at the beginning, like an introduction to the whole exhibit. And so like facing the wall right when you walk in, and then you kind of had to turn to enter really into the first room. And so this exhibit had something like this wonderful written, I know I have a picture of it. It's not actually written in here, that same wording, but it was basically about, in effect, look at all the artistic parts of women's lives over the last centuries, even though it's never super obvious. And it's only going up to 1800. Like, it's not even into the 20th, it's not going into the 19th or 20th centuries, really, even. So this really interesting, right off the bat, fascinating introduction. And surrounding it was this giant frame, like not painted onto the wall, a wood frame. And at first glance, it kind of, I think I observed that, and I thought, that's interesting. But then there was, when you go into an exhibit and there's like a little descriptive thing about the piece of art that you're looking at, there was one of those right next to this frame. And you know what? And I made bookmarks here. So this is just such a tiny picture. And they had it in centimeters. I did the conversions for you. 6.5 feet by 10 feet. Okay? That's why it stood out. It was so large. And it's this intricately carved wooden frame made by a woman. And just to read a little bit about this, women were also specialists in specific stages of making, joining, turning, japanning, or frame making in small, often household workshops. Between 1671 and 1675, 3 women frame makers were commissioned by the British Royal Court to carve elaborate frames in the auricular style for portraits of the London fire judges, the committee that settled property disputes after the Great Fire of London in 1666. A report on the progress of the commission delivered on December 14, 1671, identifies Mary Asheville, who was active in the second half of the 17th century, as one of these women. John Norris designed the frame, but Mary Asheville was expected to use her carving skills to fashion 8 full-length portrait frames. Each of the frames has an individualized treatment and confirms that women woodworkers receive commissions in England. So that, whoa, right at the beginning. And then turning into that first room, there was a very large tapestry on the wall. Again, okay, makes sense, beautiful. I'm going to go over and look at it more closely. But I also saw from that entering corner, and I saw some lace right away, but there was a sculpture over there. And I'm trying to remember which sculpture it was that looked, and there was like some silver work or some ceramics. And I'm like, my eyes were opened to the breadth of what women did for these centuries in particular. I think a lot of these things I would not have been surprised in that same way. Like if I knew this went through the 19th or certainly the 20th century, but it only went up to 1800. And of course, as I'm assuming the vast majority, if not 100% of you who are here are stitchers, I just thought I'd share with you a little bit of the part of this catalog that shows. If you are not familiar with the casket, embroidery caskets that are not so much in the cross stitch world. If you're interested in this idea of a cabinet looking thing with all this embroidery on it, they're often called caskets. So this one says cabinet. And it was something that was done, I mean, to some extent, how girls got to a certain point in their schooling and their schoolgirl sampler was like a mark of what they had achieved. I think some period before that, the mark of achievement was often creating one of these. They may have gone at the same time. Don't quote me historically on that. Here's some tapestries. Here's some embroidery. The embroidery on this dress. But I wanted to get to, okay, so, and then there were some needlework samplers. This came from the Met. I know I've seen that in a Met exhibit. It's a large bag. It's got some beautiful red work on it, which is basically straight stitching. It's like black work that's on that. This was fascinating. They had, where am I? Turn around here. It's a heavy book. There's a lot in it. This is a drawing that was a designed for a woven silk in 1749, Anna Maria Garthwaite. This was the embroidery that was created from her design. Used for fabric, used for clothes, I believe. A length of brocaded silk toe-bine. So however fabric was made during that time period with embroidered designs on it. Did I say embroidered? This was in silk. So it's not like it was all those like colors were embroidered in the way we might think of embroidery. It was the fabric. That's her design for it. You can see there was some other needlework sort of sampler things that our eyes are familiar with. This one also says cabinet. So if you are anywhere in the Baltimore area, it is going to be there, I think, until January. And then, because it was put together with Toronto Museum of Art or some name quite like that, it will be in Toronto for a few months into 2024. And I'm sure somewhere in here, here we go. The Art Gallery of Ontario, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And it'll be there from March 30th to July 1st in 2024. It is a fascinating exhibit. And I just encourage you, if you have the opportunity to go, you might really, really enjoy it. I certainly did. Alrighty, that is it. What's on my list for Flosstube today. Thank you so much for being here, especially the people who stick on till the end. I know there are so many things to watch, to follow, to listen into over the course of any period of time, and I am very grateful for the people who are here. The drill with YouTube, you hit the like, you hit the subscribe, you leave a comment. It helps me do that for every video. It helps whoever you are watching just to be found by new people. I love it when I get a comment on somebody who's like, I've found you through this channel or YouTube, right? Okay. And I've so enjoyed what you've shared. I love it when I'm able to do that to other Flosstubers that I have just found. So a last reminder, there is a sale going on now until the end of November, the next 2 weeks. Please go. Please check out my things. Support me. I appreciate it. all of us small businesses. This will be going on through the Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Small Business Saturday time period. So it's already set up for you. Um, and I thank you for everything. Thank you for being here. Till next time. Bye.